What is going on, guys? I am at N1 Training HQ with my coach Adam Miller here. He's going to be taking us through some hack squats, variations, basically how to set up properly to accomplish different things, and also some things to avoid. So what we're going to do is set up in the hack squat. I'm going to get set up like I normally would, and then do you want to start with like talking about like quad bias, glute bias?
First thing, Jake, I want you to do though, but first thing before we move on, can we put your feet on the floor there? I want to show something really quick to our viewers. The one thing about most hack squats you'll find, it's going to be, this one is very unique, so I just want to bring this to their attention. Our foot plate does move, and this simulates like having a heel lift, okay? So we're going to put it all the way down. That's almost like putting a wedge on the hack squat machine. You guys at home, I would highly recommend, if your hack squat allows, to put some kind of like a prime wedge solo in the bottom here. We did it all the time. If you can safely prop yourself up on a solo, like a wedge. Maybe not a 10-pound plate, but like actual wedges.
What about a pair of weightlifting shoes? Would those?
Oh yeah, even better.
Suffice?
Yeah, absolutely.
I actually just wrote an article on using weightlifting shoes on machines and how they could be useful.
Absolutely.
Sweet.
Anytime. So anytime you can artificially lift the heel, what you are doing is you are giving your tibia extra length. Okay, so you can push it forward a little bit more. Give you more dorsiflexion, yes, but what you're doing is just that much more tibia length is the difference between why some people set world records and others don't. Right, literally, it's just easier for them, okay? So a little bit extra tibia length will help a lot of people when your goal is especially quads. Okay, so first when we set up in the hack squat, you want to understand the hack squat isn't the hack squat. You have to make the hack squat or the leg press or the cable work for you. Okay, when we come to a hack squat, we want to set it up. Our choice here is for quads. We want to get length in quads. We want to get a full knee flexion hack squat in here. So we want to keep that in mind when we set this up. So if you want length in quad, that is knee flexion, and that's not like just 90 degrees. No, that is hamstring on the calf. We need a full length in quad. And nearly everybody can kind of do that in some way, shape, or form on the hack squat. Okay, now, first let's set the feet up. Go ahead and set the feet up like you normally would, and we'll kind of go from there. Okay, so let's just do a rep, and then we'll kind of we'll make some adjustments as you go so we can see. Knees driving forward. Actually, pretty good. Okay, so go ahead and lock that. So common things that you're going to see, okay? What we want to see is the knee driving forward the whole time and kind of getting to the end of full knee flexion, hamstring on the calf at the end of this hip flexion, okay? So meaning if you set it up too high, your feet up too high, you're going to see the foot, exactly, you're going to see that horrible pelvic tilt, everybody, and you're going to come up off the pad and everything. Yeah. You set them too low, you're going to run out of knee flexion range. You're too early, right? You're going, oh, there's nowhere to go, right? So with everybody, I will say for most people, you're going to be something mostly probably like hip width apart, and you're going to need your toes slightly turned out for the most part, okay? Now please understand, if you give yourself a heel lift, you won't need as much toes out. But most people, if you're going to go on a normal hack squat, you're probably going to need some variation of the toes out and hip width apart, and they might even have to go slightly wider on a flat. You give yourself solo wedges, you're going to be able to stay in a lot closer. Yeah. A lot closer will give you a lot more glute, and you want that as much as possible. Okay? There we go. And actually, it's even, go ahead and go again, one more time. Right there, Jake. Right there. That's it. You can come up. Yes, so you go again. That was it. Right there. Good. So what I'm seeing, if you want to rack it, so there comes a point in your squat, in your hack squat as you're going down, that you have the full knee and you get there, and then it kind of rocks back. Okay? So we want you to get there, that's enough, and then pop it up.
Got it.
Okay? You'll actually see what happens is the shins will actually drift back a little bit. Now, a small correction you can do to shut that down a little bit is actually you just a little bit move your feet down, just a little bit on the foot plate.
Got it.
And that will usually cut that out.
So brought my feet down.
Yep, toes out slightly. Right there. Yep. Go again. Yep. It's full knee. Very good. right there. Yeah, bottom out the machine. Yep. Now, what you can do also is you have pretty good dorsiflexion. You might even be able to get away with your toes straight ahead a little bit more. You might not even need that. So try that again. Yeah. There it is. Real good. Yeah, you can get it that way too. So we don't even need the toes out. You don't even need that to get the full knee flexion right there, and then come up. So when you relax, you can actually see, if you watch the video, when you get that full knee, you get the full knee flexion and it's done, you can actually see that you're continuing to go down, but the movement's just in the hip.
Interesting.
I'm like, okay, so that's not, once we get there, once we get the full knee flexion, the rest of the movement is just coming from the hip and we're loading that. So we want to just kind of get there, be done with it, and come up. So we can kind of like take out some range, and we can do that by taking the feet a little bit further forward. That's what I was doing there. If you slightly go forward a little bit, you don't need as much dorsiflexion.
Got it. Very cool. And then for biasing, glute, adductor, would we need to change anything with my current position?
So if you want on the hack squat, if you want to bias for the adductor, you're going to want to take the toes out. Do not just take your feet automatically wider and do some sumo crap like that. No, just remember, understand that is just less of everything. That's why you feel it more, right? It hurts more because it's less stuff, okay? We're trying to be as close to center as possible, okay, for most things. If you want adductor, your adductor isn't to take your feet wider, it's to actually just point your toes out more so that then their knee will be guided out. So glute is going to be here, more towards midline. So we're going to be glute here. If I want adductor, we're going to start to venture here. But notice my foot is still under my, I'm not out here doing something crazy. Here, it's just slightly with the toes out. So you'll be in the bottom like this, and that would be more adductor.
Got it. And then also just to kind of add to my theory as to like the why and everything here is basically like when we're squatting, for example, and we start going into ranges past 90 with the knee, we start getting deeper 90-degree hip flexion here. Adductor is going to be assisting with the glutes, right? In the extension process. So by doing this, we're basically ensuring that we're getting the range that we need through the hip to ensure we're hitting the adductor.
Yes. So here, when you're going up in hip flexion, so like you said, if we actually use this leg here, you're going to be going up here. If you're going into here, this is glute. If you go here, this is going to be adductor.
Cool.
And if you look, like if you're getting to a powerlifting squat, if I actually use this leg, so you can see in this camera, it's really going to be really hard for somebody to hit depth. So because I'm actually pushing your leg into the glute, like it's going to.
This feels locked up.
Right, but yet if you would turn here, there's your new range. But notice it's not like you stepped wider to do that. All you did was this, right? And that's where you want to be, and that's going to be adductor. That's going to be fantastic adductor.
And also with keeping our feet a little bit closer too, we're ensuring that the adductor actually does its job, which is adduction. Coming out of like assisting with that extension process, right? Yes,
absolutely. There will be parts of that muscle belly because there's
like here we can't really.
Exactly. There are divisions of the adductor, and some will pull in extension, and some are going to pull together into adduction. If you learn how to do those separate, you'll be the only one on the face of the earth to do that. So it's going to happen. Absolutely. So if you get deeper into your squat, if you get deeper into the squat and that knee is going to be coming out and we're going to float over like this, it is going to be adductor and you're going to see that adduction. It has to happen. If you push out against it, it's like me telling you, I'm going to have you curl this weight, but you have to curl this dumbbell as hard as you can while flexing your tricep. Go. It doesn't make any sense. Don't push your knees out in the bottom of any of this stuff. It's completely wrong. Yes, that's an adductor hack squat. For most people in the hack squat, to get a fully lengthened quad and to get that full knee flexion, they're probably going to get into some of this adductor position. They will. Unless they have a good solo wedge or a good heel lift, they're probably not going to be able to get to like this pure glute. They're going to have, this hack squat's going to be a little bit of adductor, but a lot of good lengthened quad.
Interesting.
There's just, to do it. Now if you put the seat up and change something, you have to play more glute. But most hack squats, like I said, for hack squatting guys, especially if you can't use a wedge, it'll probably be like a slightly hip width stance with the toes out a little bit, and you're going to be getting adductor. If you feel like it is, like literally if you feel an overstretch of your adductors or even like some pull on your hamstring in the bottom, your stance is actually probably too wide. You need to bring it in and bring it in underneath you. And I will tell you, the proof is in the pudding. Yes, there are a lot of people that squat very wide and broke world records, but right now a squat that I really enjoy watching, and he's making a comeback, Dan Bell. Big Dan Bell squat. That guy is a huge human being. Look at his foot stance. Now it's straight ahead. I'm not one to tell Dan Bell how to squat, but if he turned the toes out even slightly, it'd be even better, right? But his stance is underneath him. He is in the fight. If you're going to be in the fight in the bottom of a hack squat or squat, you want to be in here.
Yeah.
I can take something here. Zombie apocalypse. What is this going to do? Nobody's doing anything like that.
Yeah.
No, man. You want to be closer to center, and that falls in line with martial arts, yoga, and everything else. To center.
And then while on the topic too of talking about turning the toes out, I think it's important that we emphasize, like, just because we're bringing the toes out, that does not mean we're forcing the knees out. And I know we've talked about that already.
No.
But just reiterating that we want these knees to still track forward, almost in line, or at least like over the toes. Over the toes.
And we were talking about during your squat, a lot of old school lifters, such as myself, we will still fall into the habit of like pushing our knees out and being out on the sides of our feet. That's not over your, that is not over your toes. That is not, and you want to, as you're going down into the squat, as your feet are going, your knees are going over your toes, you should feel all of your toes. You should feel all of your toes, even the big toe. The cue of finding your big toe is actually a good cue, especially for somebody that wants to push out. You can't feel your big toe if you're pushing out. Yeah. So you want, some people may need to kind of like guide more towards center, even with their knees going forward, to try to keep their feet on the floor. You have to feel your foot the whole time. The whole
So we've talked quads, we've talked adductors.
Yeah.
Is there a way to create a glute bias? I know we're going to get some glute no matter kind of probably what we're doing with the hack squat to some degree, but is there any way to like further that bias and differentiate? Or
in a hack squat, you could, but I wouldn't say you could. We can try it. Let's play with it.
So
we got to get closer. So when you're going to go try to get more glute in this, you're probably not going to be able to get to a fully lengthened quad, but you're still going to get lots of good quad here. So let's kind of see. With our hack squat, it'd be interesting. You probably will be able to get pretty freaking close. Pretty close. Yeah. Right there. That's pretty good. And I tell you what, Jake, even bring it in even closer with your toes out just a little bit to give you a little bit more dorsiflexion. And even on our hack squat, you'll probably be able to get to the lengthened quad with lots of glute. Yes, it is. Yes, you can. There it is. Now, you could do this on a normal hack squat if you have a very good solo wedge. So once you start to give yourself a wedge and a heel lift, you give yourself the ability to, like, you know what, I can probably get to this lengthened quad position going closer and getting more glute. You have that now. That's a tool in your tool belt. I can choose. I can use my heel lift and I can sit here and go closer and get more glute, or I can go a little bit wider and get a little bit more adductor. Hey, if you use a lot of adductors in your squat, maybe your adductors need a break. So when you come over here, you're like, give abductor a break. Yeah. Let's just focus on maybe glute and some quad. Give it a little bit of rest, you know?
Got it.
Or maybe you're like, your adductors suck. You need more adductor. So here, you're getting more adductor. And doing phases of training where you're like squatting it as adductor and so is hack squat as adductor. I'm intentionally beating you up on purpose. And next block, we won't do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Choosing. As long as you know that, you're like, well, how do you put that together? Just understand that that happens, and you can choose to do that. And you're like, one phase, I will do that. I'm intentionally blowing up my adductors. I use them a lot in my squat. They are a weak point. I haven't spent time on them. I'm going to do a lot of adductor work in this training block. And next week and next block, I will take it away. Focus on some other stuff.
Got it. All right, guys, that wraps up this hack squat video. I do apologize that this might not have been the shortest video, but honestly, like, this stuff really interests me and I really love geeking out on this stuff. So if you are similar, hopefully this video helped provide some insights into how to better set up and execute hack squats to bias different muscle groups. Big shout out and thank you to Adam Miller for bringing me through this video and just being a dynamite coach and helping me along my way through my training journey. But as always, guys, if you have any questions, drop them down in the comments below. And as always, drop a like on the video, drop subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys in the next one.